What's up, everybody? Let's talk Jets Radio, Part 8 training camp preview, talking defensive backs. Great place to start, I guess, is with all the Twitter nonsense from yesterday with Asante Samuel ripping Jeremy Fowler's top cornerback list, which had Sauce Gardner number 2, and Samuel saying it's all a creation of the New York media, which I find completely false and ridiculous. If you watch the film, Sauce was every bit of a shutdown corner last year, 20 pass breakups, under 50% completion percentage allowed. First team All Pro, first rookie to do that, I believe, since Ronnie Lott, which DJ Reed pointed out on Twitter. So very weird to have this conversation, to try to discredit all that he did as a rookie. When he was playing at near peak Darrell Revis level, and even Revis, he wasn't a Pro Bowler until year 2. Revis Island didn't get formed until year 3. So the fact that he's already in this conversation amongst top 2 or 3 corners wherever you want to place him, that's great just for the present and for the future. For this year, I think the one thing you look out for is, with 31 other fan bases that are seemingly always complaining about him being too physical, you wonder if the officials start to, target him a little bit more or start to look for that stuff a little bit more. Personally, for most of the calls that you have fans complaining about, if you're playing the football, if you turn your head around or you're making a play on the football, to me, that's not pass interference. A defensive back has every right to the football, and that's a lot of his plays. He's blanketing these receivers step for step. So when he does ultimately make a play on the ball, yeah, sometimes there's contact, but he's got every right to that football. And so you wonder, does he have another gear that he could get to? Because honestly, I mean, if we could get what we got out of him last year, like I'd sign up for that every year. So is there another level that he can get to? Does he start to, maybe take some more risks and try to bait quarterbacks into things to get more interceptions? Or does he just continue to lock things down the way he's been? So curious to see what kind of player we get out of year 2 Sauce. Great to have a mentor like DJ Reed opposite him. By far, I think the best signing of the Joe Douglas era. Absolutely outplayed his contract in year 1. Just really took Sauce under his wing. I remember in training camp last year, it always felt like those two were attached at the hip, and on the field they were every bit as good. Best tandem in football, which was another debate on Twitter yesterday. Not even close in my opinion. And if you want to go a step further, best trio. Throw Michael Carter in there as well, who's been a steal in the 5th round, gotten better every year in his first 2 seasons, locking down the slot. So you love what the Jets have with their top 3. Beyond that, their top backup on the outside right now would probably be Brandon Eccles, but unfortunately he's suspended for week 1, so you start to look beyond him. Bryce Hall had a great rookie year as a 5th-round pick. Back in 2020, he's gone downhill every year, was a shell of himself last year in preseason. So you wonder if, this is his possibly last opportunity to make an impact and make the roster. And possibly do something. And then, beyond that, you got Justin Hardy, who is going to make it for special teams. You got Bernard Converse, who's going to make it as a 6th-round pick. So where does that leave a player like Javelin Guidry, who might be your best backup in the slot? But other than those guys, I don't think there's really anybody, that's really going to contend for a spot. I mean, you got a couple veteran corners in Craig James and Jimmy Moreland, who's got some experience. So maybe those guys fill in if you do cut Bryce Hall. But with Eccles being out, I think you have to at least plan for somebody that you could trust on the outside. I don't know if that's going to be Bryce Hall. So interesting to see what they do there. And then going to safety, I think this is where you possibly have 1, maybe 2 spots up for grabs. You signed Adrian Amos, which was big after the loss of Chuck Clark. I think he gives you a slight upgrade in coverage. And then you still have Jordan Whitehead, who you trust a little bit more in the box playing the run. And then Tony Adams, considering he made it over Jason Pinnock last year, it seems that they're very high on him as an undrafted free agent last year. Somebody that I think they trust in coverage, possibly their best coverage safety. So I think his spot is probably safe. So do you keep a 4th, and who is it? Ashton Davis, his last shot, final year of his contract. I don't know if he's going to be able to stick around. Because you do have 2 young kids, undrafted free agents, Trey Dean and Marquise Waters. Both of these players, I think, are guys that you should keep an eye on. Both players that are a little bit better in the box as run stuffers. But Marquise Waters, I believe, was high 4.3s in his 40 at his pro day. Somebody that's a team captain. He's played linebacker. He's played slot. He's played on the outside, safety. They moved him around all over the place. And Trey Dean, somebody also that a lot of fans and a lot of scouts are really high on. I think he underperformed in his at his pro day or at his at the combine because of some injuries or things like that. So based off his tape, I thought he was projected to be a late round pick. Another guy that's physical, 6'3". He'll stick his nose in there and make some hits. So Can either of these guys hold up in coverage? I think that's the big question as far as whether or not they can make the roster or whether or not they're practice squad players. But a good problem to have. I think there's a decent amount of competition on the back end with some young guys. Even a guy like Bernard Converse, he could possibly fill in at safety too. So a lot of pieces that they can move around, and I think a lot of opportunities as well. If you get past, a couple weeks of training camp, and they're not happy with Adams, or none of these young kids are stepping up, maybe they look to add another veteran safety, which was a conversation before Chuck Clark went down. So curious to see what they do. I think ultimately we're probably looking at 10 defensive backs, 6 corners with 4 safeties. Does that include an extra guy, for Brandon Eccles, or do you just go one short week one? Something to play out. So talk to you guys later.